I still don't understand the existence of this pen. Like, the sheer existence of this pen baffles me, because people, or at least someone, had to approve this, and then someone had to walk in to the designer and say, hey, you see this pen, this Pilot pen? Yeah, could you do a favor and just make the front of this look like a freaking shark, and then, you know, just ship it out? That'd be good, thanks. And they actually did. Someone took the pen, actually shoved a smiley face on the shark, and shipped it out and said, yep, this is an acceptable product. I'm very happy that they did that, but wow, this is a fun timeline that we're living in. So, Jinhao has now made the Jinhao shark, which, as I have alluded to, is inspired by this pen, the Pilot penmanship, and the Pilot Plumix, which I'll get into later. But from what I can see, this pen is absurdly cheap. It's $1.50 off eBay, and from what I can tell, Jinhao has been really stepping up their game recently, and this one is following the trend. This is $1.50, and you're paying for a pen that is really what I'd call a pen that I wouldn't think costs $1.50, if you get what I'm talking about, because the older problems with the older Jinhaos were reliability issues, startup issues, the nibs being really scratchy, but the 3 Jinhaos that I have bought, they have all had 0 issues. So let's jump into the review and let's talk about this pen. So let's get into some of the dimensions of the pen. Capped, we're looking at about 15.5 centimeters long. Uncapped, it's 12.7 centimeters long. And posted, it's right back at 15.5 centimeters long. And because this is a all plastic pen, it's going to be about 11 grams in weight. So it's not the heaviest pen, though in terms of holding it, it's pretty comfortable to hold. The length should be fine for most people to hold it unposted, and if you want to post it, it should be comfortable to hold. Just note there is a bit of a harsh step up between the barrel and the cap of the pen when you do post it, though from my experience you don't feel it that much. In terms of the grip of the pen, we're going to be using the exact same grip as you find on the Pilot Plumix and the Pilot penmanship, hence the reason why I say it's taken a lot of inspiration from these pens. Now, these pens use Pilot's ergonomic grip. It's very similar to Lami's ergonomic grip on the Safari and the All-Star, though here it's a more curved grip, whereas on Lamy it's a very flat and straight grip. Now, I've said many times I'm not the biggest fan of Lami's grip, though here I find it alright to use. I'd much rather it be a circular grip, though I do put up using this forced grip that it uses. Now, would I rather that they didn't do this? Yeah, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I've been using it for quite a while. I've had this pen for about a month, and I haven't had too many problems with it. Now, if you look at the cap of the pen, you'll see the shark face and the shark fin, but one thing that is missing, like on the Pilot penmanship and Plumix models, is the lack of a clip, which is something that I fixed in this video here. So that's going to be something that's going to be pretty annoying for, well, especially for me. So what I'm going to have to do is go ahead and 3D print another clip for this pen, like I've done here. If we take a quick look at the build quality of the pen, I will say for a plastic pen, it's pretty good. Now, it doesn't match up to the metal threads of other Jinhao and Bayo pens, though for plastic, it's pretty good. I can put this in my front and back pocket and lean on it, and it doesn't snap. The threads, on the other hand, are very, very fine threads. They have a high pitch, but they don't extend all that much. So I'd be somewhat weary to eyedrop this pen, though you probably can. These threads just aren't very pronounced, so I'm not exactly sure how that would affect ink being held back in here. One thing that should be noted, because it is a clear grip pen, is that you can look into the grip and see part of the converter, so it sort of acts as a ink window. Though what we're really here for is to see how it writes, because of course at the end of the day this is a pen. So the pen that I have here is the fine. You can have a fine in a 0.38mm or 0.5mm. This one here is the 0.5mm. Now what they have done, which is a little bit of a departure from the Pilot Plumix model and the Pilot penmanship model, is they've decided to go for a hooded nib style, which has its pros and cons. I'm not the biggest fan of hooded nibs because it restricts how much flex you can get out of a nib, though it makes it feel similar to a rollerball, and I tend to write faster using these hooded nibs. Now, the nib in this pen is really good, and I've seen the quality of Jinhao nibs really increase over the past while. This is a fine nib and it is pretty darn smooth. There is a little bit of feedback, especially on side strokes, just going in this direction, though it is good feedback. It's not scratchy at all. In terms of how wet this pen is, I was actually pretty surprised that it's pretty wet and it can keep up with almost all writing. You can write with this for quite a long time and it won't get dry. That's an issue that I had with the Pilot Plumix, and a lot of Pilot pens, is that their feeds tend to be pretty dry and they can dry up after a while. So that's a pretty good step up for this pen. In terms of reliability, I think it's doing a little bit better than some of the other Jinhao and Bayer models. Yes, every now and then you can put down this pen, pick it up, and it will go from writing like a charm to failing to write at all. And that's just something that you are going to get with a lot of Chinese pens. Hard starts are annoying, though this, compared to the Bayer pen that I was reviewing last week, the number of hard starts that I've been getting with this pen is pretty minimal. Now, you are using the Jinhao Standard International cartridge, and this will last quite a while. I've had this one last about a week for me, which is pretty good, and considering that I use fountain pens all the time, I'm actually pretty impressed with the ink capacity of this, and I'm pretty sure if you dared to eyedropper this pen, it would last well over a month. Welcome to the writing sample for the Jinhao Shark. You can probably hear as I'm writing there's a little bit of feedback, though it's not bad. It's pretty smooth and it's something that you will get on a 0.5mm fine nib. The ink that I'm using is Parker Quink. Let's get into a writing sample, shall we? Alright. And as a result, you're going to need a bigger boat. So I had to put at least one reference for Jaws, of course, if we're reviewing a shark pen. So in that review, well, that writing sample, I should say, really nice writing, pretty consistent, and it was really nice to write with. In terms of flex, there is no flex, and in terms of the ink keeping up, it kept up well. If you have a look at the nib size, that's the pen with no pressure, and that is it with a lot of pressure. No line variation whatsoever. That's the style. That's what you're going to get with a hooded nib. In terms of natural line variation, there's also going to be very minimal. The good thing about this is you can write a lot faster than you would with this pen. Pretty similar speeds to this rollerball, if I'm honest. Now, in terms of wetness, this is a moderately wet pen, though it is a fine, so you don't need the wettest pen on earth. terms of reverse writing, this actually grounds to do reverse writing. It's actually smoother than a lot of pens. For some reason, a lot of Chinese pens are pretty good at reverse writing. So yes, you can do that, and reverse writing a little bit thinner, but not that much. And if we just try and flex it, yeah, not much. So, there we go.